As chairperson of the Board of Public Works, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are, first, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-436-2866. The meeting ID is 924-4917-5750, and the password is 880582. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. Second, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and at the Department of Public Works Administration Building at 9 Riverside Drive. Third, by providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. Fourth, but adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the phone number mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, state why you are not physically present at the meeting, and also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I think Diane is on the call. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes, excuse me, I am present. I'm physically distancing and attending remotely pursuant to the governor's emergency orders, and I'm alone in the room.
Commissioner Ortiz will be arriving late. Commissioner Pappas?
I'm at home in a room by myself, and I am by myself at home due to the pandemic.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes, I am here, present, sitting in my office by myself. I am attending, following the governor's orders.
Commissioner Shoneman?
I'm present and I'm attending remotely due to the governor's COVID emergency orders, and I am alone in this room in my house.
And I now have been taught some of the technology by Commissioner Shoneman, so I've got everyone on my screen here. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I now,
Good job.
I now see Alderman Mike O'Brien, our liaison from the Board of Aldermen, who's in attendance. Is there a motion, or let's call on Commissioner Moriarty on the motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes,
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Motion passes. We now go into public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to address the commission, the board? All right, let's go on to the administration department. We have item A, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the UAW clerical, technical, and UAW professional collective bargaining agreements for the period of July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2024.
And we have, as part of the meeting, Attorney Dory Clark and also Administrative Services Director Kim Kleiner, in addition to Director Lisa Foto. And they can discuss the proposed contract, but Dory Clark, as the one who summarized the changes via memorandum, why don't we begin with you? You're on mute.
All right, sure. So yes, as you noted, I did send a memo that went through and just outlined what the changes were in the two contracts. They are essentially the same contract. The clerical, technical, and professional, the only difference is obviously the employees that it covers, and the wage grids are different for the two groups. But the actual language in the contracts relating to, you know, the work rules and the benefits and things are the same for the two units. I think, I mean, my memo would be a public document, so I don't know if you want me to go through each change, or if it just makes sense at this point to let any commissioner ask any question on any article or comment on any change if they want to. Unless you, Mayor, unless you want me to go through all the changes again.
Sorry, I muted myself. Why don't you briefly go through the changes so anyone watching the meeting will have the sense of it?
Sure. All right. So in the job posting article, the parties agreed that if it was unlikely to have a qualified internal candidate, that we would be able to post any vacancy notices internally and externally at the same time, which would hopefully maybe speed up the hiring process. In the holiday article, so there is a schedule for UAW holidays, but we have the Public Works employees usually following the AFSCME holiday schedule, since we need like the foreman to be in at the same time the AFSCME employees are. But what we've done here is put a little bit of a finer point on it, and we're going to have the engineering and administrative departments of Public Works follow the UAW and unaffiliated holiday schedule. So it just makes sense to have those groups of people in on the same days. In the tuition reimbursement article, we're going to continue to fund the joint tuition account at an annual amount of $10,000, with $3,000 additional funding available if the $10,000 runs out. And the parties agreed we're going to actually deduct about roughly $38,000 from the tuition account to use to pay for a one-time set of grade and step adjustments for the lower grade employees in the clerical technical unit, which I can address a little bit more when I get to wages. In the health insurance article, effective July 1st of 2021, we're going to be implementing the changes to the HMO co-pays and deductibles that the city has been requesting from all the unions. It's the same that the unaffiliated made and has started to roll in with some of the other unions. And we also memorialized the language on the high deductible health plan in the contract, so it will remain an option for employees to choose that instead. In dental insurance, also 7/1/21, we're going to allow these employees to go to the high option dental plan if they want to, with the employee paying the full additional cost. For mileage reimbursement, there's been some employees in this group that have really been wanting for the last several cycles to be able to utilize a city vehicle for work purposes instead of their own personal vehicle. So for this contract cycle, as sort of a pilot program, we are going to get 4 used police department vehicles. So instead of having the police department trade them in, they're going to be coming over to City Hall, and we're going to make those 4 vehicles available to UAW employees for work purposes. In the wages article for fiscal 21, there'll be a step, and that'll be retroactive to July 1, 2020. For fiscal 22, we're going to do that one-time set of grade and step adjustments for the lower grade employees in the clerical technical unit. And this was something proposed by management to help with some of the lowest paid employees that we were having a hard time with recruitment and retention. But we will be covering that using tuition fund money. And then in fiscal 22 for the entire group, it'll be a step plus 1%. And that is also the year that the health insurance changes come into effect. And then for fiscal 23 and 24, it'll be a step each year plus 0.5% increases to the grids. And then also each year, the contract cycle, removing the lowest step from each grade and adding a new 2% step at the top so that the employees didn't fall off the grids. We also added a new article. It's kind of a mouthful. It creates an incentive for a couple of employees to be able to get a certification to do compressed natural gas fuel system inspections. So they would be able to take a test to become certified to do the CNG vehicle inspections. And it would be great to have some employees able to do those in-house instead of having to send those vehicles out for the inspections. And so we put a program in place that would incentivize a few employees, with the right skill set to be able to try to get those that inspection certification. In the earn time and individual sick leave pools articles, we've added a payout upon the death of an employee. And as noted in the wages, the term of the agreement is for 4 years.
Do any of the commissioners have questions or comments concerning the proposed agreement?
I guess, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I wanted to wait and make sure no one else had a question. So I guess, I'm sorry, I should have waited till I was recognized. So if you can just explain to the public, I know in the past that we've shied away from 4-year contracts. So if someone can just quickly explain why this is an advantage with this group because of some of the concessions that were made, especially on healthcare.
Who's going to answer that? The contract begins effective July 1st of, let's start with that. Ms. Kleiner? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. It is, when it's advantageous for the city and for both groups. I think both groups entertain going into a 4-year contract. This cycle around, it's very beneficial to both the city and to the union. We are getting the healthcare concessions that the city has asked for in fiscal 22 or July 1st of 2021 date. That was important. You don't normally like to make those changes mid-year. It starts a whole open enrollment process, which is difficult. So we want to roll that into our normal open enrollment next May. The union made some concessions that were actually introduced by management. That's those lower grade changes. These were positions that we were having a lot of turnover and training expense in. So working out that arrangement, and as Attorney Clark said, using their tuition fund that had been left over from years of unspent funds, using that to pay for the grade changes, and then really being able to settle on some fair increases over the 4-year period made it very cost effective for the city. And there was a lot of good discussion and good arrangements during the session. We're happy to see that we can start with the cars, and those are unmarked police cars that would have been traded in for very minimal value, and will get some use in other departments. So overall, looking at the whole 4-year arrangement, it worked for both the city and the union.
And the healthcare changes which Commissioner Papp has referred to are something the city has been seeking from all employee groups, because we've seen healthcare costs rise in the previous fiscal year to now 3.3 million, and in the current fiscal year 3 million. When you put those together, it's about a 20% increase over 2 years, and equals about a 3% increase in the tax rate. So almost half the tax rate that our citizens have seen over the last 2 years, the tax rate increase is attributed to this one item. That being healthcare cost increases. So by getting the changes that the UAW here has agreed to, we are able to cut costs in the short term, and also we think limit costs, limit the rate of increase going forward. This is a plan that we've worked with very carefully with the city's consultants. WBS is their name, and we have seen it incorporated in agreements with other employee groups. So getting this concession was very important, and agreeing to a 4-year contract with modest wage increases was worth gaining this new healthcare plan.
Thank you for the explanation from Director Kleiner, from the mayor. And if nobody else has a question, I have one. It's a narrow question, I think, probably for the director. I had noticed that there's something in the contract where employees who are able to take their vehicles home overnight. Do we have anyone within our UAW that does that, or is that just for other departments?
No, we do not. We don't have any
Okay.
employees who take their cars home.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, comment?
Yes, Commissioner Moriarty.
I'd just like to say, reviewing this contract, I think it's a very fair and solid contract. I really appreciate the work that you and your staff have put into this, and I'm certainly in favor of it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor?
I would just say that the 3 people we have with us, Ms. Clark, Ms. Kleiner, and Ms. Foto, all worked very hard on this over a period of time, and I think, negotiated a good deal for both sides. I heard someone else trying to speak up, but I'm not sure who that was.
Mr. Mayor, this is Frank Tees. Just apologizing for my tardiness. I was on a call and just joined a few moments ago, so I did not hear the entire scope of the call, but thank you to my peers for asking good questions.
All right, and of course, the record should show that Commissioner Tees is present. Anybody else have questions or comments?
Finally, I just would say it just sounds like it sounds like a fair deal to me for both sides.
All right, well, if no one has anything else, there's a motion to approve the contract? Or recommend approval, approve, recommend, I don't know, approve and recommend to the Board of Aldermen, I guess we would say. Diane, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis,
Yes.
Commissioner Tees,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Stoneman,
Yes.
And motion passes. Do the commissioners have comments?
Mayor, I do have one comment.
Yes, Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you. Just as a point of clarification, I may be wrong on this, so you can correct me if I am. I read the article in the Telegraph about the tax increase, and you said part of it is due to the increase in the state pension fund, 4.4 million. And you also said that essentially all city employees are part of this pension fund. But as I think that the Public Works is exempt from that. Is that correct? I think we're self-funded and we are not part of that.
Yes, Public Works is the only employee group that is separate from the state pension fund. So Public Works is not part of this. Alderman Mike O'Brien is on the board, and we're over 80% funded. The well-run pension fund. If only we had the same record at the state level.
Right.
But there was one, I think that was a little confusing in the article. There were many points that were covered, but in terms of the last 2 years, last year was a 2.6% increase, this 3.9, so for a total of around 6.5. I'm saying that about half or about 3% of that 6.5 is related to this healthcare issue. That's why we're trying. So about half of the increases over 2 years. That's why we're trying so hard to get this under control and get this incorporated for all employee groups. The pension issue and the loss of school aid begin on July 1st, 2021. So that's going to have a huge impact next year. When you put what we think we're looking at as a 4.4 million dollar increase imposed by the state in pension costs for Department of Public Works employees, and a $6 million loss in education assistance for a $10 million hit downshifting by the state of New Hampshire. You put those two things together, and they alone constitute a 5%, almost a 5% tax increase. So we are looking next year at either as a result of actions taken at the state level at the worst possible time, COVID-19 pandemic, to significantly raise city taxes, taxes across the state of New Hampshire, property taxes, or serious service cuts. So that's the choice, the unfortunate choice that the state of New Hampshire has presented us with, at least in taking those two actions. We're working with Alderman O'Brien, also State Representative O'Brien, and others from our legislative delegation to try to turn these things around, but certainly there's no guarantee at all.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We're commissioners' comments, right? Or no, have we taken the vote yet?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on commissioners' comments.
Yes.
Did we take the vote? I'm sorry, I don't, got so wrapped up in this.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, you voted.
Yes,
So,
we did.
Any other commissioner comments? Well, is Commissioner Moriarty, do you have a motion?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Happy Thanksgiving, yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes.
And thank you all for joining. I hope you all have a great set of holidays. Please be careful with too much interaction with other people. We know that COVID-19 is definitely out there, so just be careful. I hope you all again have a good Thanksgiving.